Alrighty, guys, let's talk about the series premiere, the first 3 episodes of Andor. Andor Season 2 is finally upon us. So this is going to be a full spoiler discussion for Andor Season 2. I'm not going to be able to do those immediate reactions because 3 episodes on Tuesday, it's going to be hard for me to watch all of them back to back to back and then do an immediate reaction as soon as I'm done. That being said, though, I'm always excited to do these spoiler discussions every single week with you guys and talk about the 3 episodes in some details. So that is me stalling for just a little bit here. If you haven't seen the 3 episodes, no worries at all. Just make sure to save the podcast, save the segment, save the clip wherever you are watching it, and come back once you have. Or if you don't care about spoilers and if you have seen the episodes, then let's get into it. So, as you might have seen from last week's episode of the Access Blockbusters Pod, I was actually able to finish Andor Season 1 just before Andor Season 2 came out. And so, it's been very fresh on my mind. And really what I've been able to glean from that rewatch is just, it really made an impact on how I viewed the show. I really enjoyed Season 1 a whole lot more than I did the first time. And the first time I didn't hate it at all. I really liked it. I've come to really admire and love the show since my rewatch. And you can go check out that rewatch segment and hear some of my more detailed thoughts. So I've been very excited for Andor Season 2, especially after that second trailer. Because the first trailer really did nothing for me. The one with the music, the pop music, did absolutely nothing for me. I don't understand the rationale behind it. That being said, I mean, I do understand the rationale behind it. To be fair, that's a little bit of a hyperbole. I understand that they're marketing it towards non-Star Wars fans. I'm just saying that for me, it just didn't work. That's all I was trying to say. Anyways, the second trailer felt very Star Wars-y, felt really good to me, and so I was very excited for Andor Season 2. And so they released the first 3 episodes. Now, we're not gonna, because I did take notes throughout the entirety of the 3 episodes. That being said, we'd be here forever if I went through every single one of my notes and my thoughts here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through each episode in some detail, of course, but we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it in a way where we cover sort of the holistic elements of each episode and then kind of how they tie into one another. Because again, like I said, there's just way too much detail to go into for 3 whole episodes. It's basically a whole movie, and we could be here for an entire podcast episode talking about 3 episodes of television. And as much as I'd love to do that, other topics need some time as well. So again, we're just gonna go through episode by episode and then talk about how they tie in together and all that kind of stuff, and then we will wrap up with that. So let's get into episode 1. As I started out with episode 1 here, just really not knowing what to expect here, I knew that what we did know is that these episodes were going to be 3 episodes each, releasing at the same time. One of my, not complaints, but one of the things that I still was not as, I guess happy is the wrong word, but one of the things I noticed that still wasn't sitting super well with me was that in the first season, the middle episodes were a little bit slower. And that's just because they're sort of, the 3 episode chunks are designed to be, their own little mini stories. And the middle episodes just generally are not going to be as fast paced, or as, they're not going to be as impactful, I suppose, as the beginning and the end. So I was very curious to see how it was going to go, because we knew that Andor Season 2 is not only going to be divided into 4 chunks with 3 episodes each, but each little mini story arc was going to be a whole year, and then they were going to jump a year in time. And we see that right away. We see that they jump to, they start out here and it says 4 BBY. So it's already counting down the years to the Battle of Yavin, which becomes a little more important in episode 2 here. So, let's get into it here. We start out here with this whole sequence in the TIE TIE interceptor facility here. And I really like the conversation with that, technician who we never see again. I wonder if she's going to be heard from later on in the series. But Andor, I really like the conversation about what it takes to sacrifice for the rebellion and what it means to it. And then we have this whole sequence where Andor steals a TIE fighter. I love the music, by the way. I noticed that the music was kind of Winter Soldier-esque. It was very heisty, very spy movie-esque, and I really like that. And this whole opening sequence, I was glued to the screen. This opening sequence, there's something about it that just felt so Star Wars. For everyone complaining about, and yes, I know some parts of the rest of these 3 episodes maybe don't feel as quote unquote Star Wars-y. Right, they feel a little more sci-fi, perhaps. But I mean, for this opening sequence when Andor steals the TIE fighter, if anyone's complaining that this isn't Star Wars, I don't know what to tell you, because this is Star Wars. This opening sequence has got the action, it's got the pacing, it's got the music, it's got just the way it's shot. I loved this opening sequence here where Andor steals the TIE fighter. It's hard to describe, but it's it's incredible. So I love that opening sequence. So then we're introduced to the other story arcs that become more prevalent throughout the rest of these 3 episodes. We have Bix and her crew on that farming planet. We have Mon Mothma and her daughter getting married. And then we have obviously Andor getting kind of stuck on this what turns out to be Yavin 4, which is interesting. But yeah, we have all these story arcs that are kind of coalescing around one another. And it turns out the wedding is basically an excuse to gather every single character that we've missed. And so Luthen is there, Clea is there, Val is there. Turns out Cinta is there later. And so I think that's it's sort of a shorthand kind of way to introduce all of the different characters here. And at this point, I was pleasantly surprised because I was like, okay, we're really moving along here. It's, the pacing feels really sharp and it feels really, really good that, everything's interconnecting and everything is going on here. But then Cassian crash lands on this planet, which turns out to be Yavin 4. And it just comes crashing to a halt. And this becomes more prevalent in episode 2. But this whole thing about Cassian just kind of sitting around and being held hostage while these 2 groups are yelling at each other, I don't know. Is it going to come back to come back into play later on? Maybe. But with the way that this plays out in the first 2 episodes, really not my favorite thing. I should also mention there are a couple other story arcs that were going on here at the same time, because then we're introduced to Krennic again. And it's always great to see Krennic again. And I love this sequence where they're talking about the Gormans, and they're going to need that energy for what I presume to be the Death Star, and they're talking about getting that. It's not Kyber that they call it; it's called calcite or something like that. And they're talking about the Gorman massacre, which we know is going to happen somewhat soon. And so that's something that's horrifying to talk about. It's just terrifying to hear Imperials talk about genocide as if it's nothing. It's crazy, but it's again setting up the fact that the Empire is just so oppressive. And Daedra is there as well. And again, Krennic, it's always great to see Ben Mendelsohn. And I love, by the way, the little Easter egg where he says, the Emperor wants stable, unlimited power. And I was like, yep, that's a great little reference there for all of us Star Wars fans. But again, I mean, it keeps cutting back to the storyline of Cassian just being stuck on what I'm presuming is Yavin 4, and then the other storylines are just kind of moving along. The wedding business is somewhat interesting, although we don't know where it was going at this point. B, the droid, is waiting for Cassian. Bix is waiting for Cassian. They're all just kind of waiting around for Cassian as they're living their lives in this Imperial occupation. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't quite sure where things were heading, but I was intrigued to this point. I do think the episode lost a lot of momentum as soon as Cassian crash landed on that planet. But again, I was very curious to see where we were going to go. So episode 2 comes around. And we start out here on Yavin 4, and these guys are just kind of yelling at each other. These 2 rebel factions are just kind of yelling at each other. And then we get, Daedra heads back to Coruscant, and she's still obsessed with Axis, which is Luthen. And I think it's really fascinating to see that the I forget the guy's name, but the guy who was in charge of the ISB is like, you know what, you keep talking about it, it's become a legend, it's become kind of a thing you just talk about, and everyone's annoyed by it, so just either shut up or tell us or show us Axis, who is Luthen. And it's like, okay, that's kind of where it is, and I'm sure Daedra and Cyril are going to be on the hunt for Luthen still. And I don't want to put this out here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen that Luthen is going to die, right? Because he doesn't show up in Rogue One. You think that a character as important to the rebellion as Luthen would definitely show up for Rogue One, and he does not. So I'm a little concerned about Luthen. I'm a little concerned. I do like how everyone is kind of worried about Cassian. They're like, wait, where is he? We can't contact him, and that's because he is stuck on this planet that is Yavin 4, I suppose, just hanging out here. And then we get back to the wedding stuff, and the wedding stuff in itself is interesting insofar as it's picking up a storyline from season 1 where Mon Mothma had to do some dealings with a very shady guy, and he's like, hey, in return I want you to betroth my son to your daughter, and she does that eventually. And then there's this other guy, Tay, right? Tay is her friend, her childhood friend, who is helping her move her money around so that she can fund the rebellion, and I think that's all great. That's all super interesting. But Tay is going through some really rough times because apparently his wife left him. And his investments are going very poorly, and all of a sudden he looks like he's on the verge of going scorched earth on Mon Mothma, and that becomes a concern because Luthen's like, you need to get this under control. And at the end of this getting to the end of episode 3 really quickly, it looks like Luthen has a plan just to kill him. I don't know, because they don't. I actually thought he was going to die at the end of this 3-episode arc, but it looks like, because it's going to skip ahead a year, so he's going to survive another year. I don't know, or maybe not. Maybe in between, they're just going to be like, "Yep, Tay died," and Luthen reveals that he did it. Because I thought Luthen was just going to sneak out and shoot him himself, but I don't know. Because again, Luthen, right? He's all about, I've compromised myself. It's for the rebellion, and we cannot have any loose ends going around here. So, I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out in the next arc. And then we get another arc here because Daedra and Cyril are living together. And that's crazy to me. I mean, of all the things. And honestly, look, I mean, I enjoyed the stuff with Cyril and his mom because it was just so weird in season 1, but in a very interesting way. This character of Cyril is so interesting to me. In just all the weirdest ways. I don't know what it is about him, but this was just like the whole. I know it's more episode 3, so we're gonna get there. But this whole thing was just so odd to me, and it didn't really pay off. So I'm still curious to see where we're going from here because it's a little confusing to me. I'm not gonna lie. So we'll see. We'll see where we go from there. Clea is also heading back to Coruscant because she's trying to get a hold of Andor. But yeah, really, episode 2 is about all these different storylines. Like Cassian's just kind of sitting there, right? I do like Mon Mothma's husband's speech where he talks about fleeting joy. I think that was kind of a nice moment for him, even though he's generally a terrible person. And again, I know there's a lot of complicating things with Tay and with Mon Mothma and things like that. I get it, jealousy and whatnot. But Mon Mothma's husband is also just kind of an unpleasant person as well. But yeah, Cassian's just kind of been sidelined this entire episode. He's just kind of sitting around and being held hostage. It just feels, I'm going to say it, I mean, this feels like a middle episode, right? Because it feels like not a whole lot is happening here. Like Cassian's just kind of sitting around and I want to clarify, by sitting around, and by saying nothing happened, I don't mean that I need every single Andor episode to have an opening sequence like episode 1 did. I love the politics. I actually think the conversations about Tay and his finances and all the stuff about the funding the rebellion and Luthen, like that's all really interesting. It's more the wedding stuff. It's the Cyril, Daedra, Cyril's mom stuff. It's Cassian just kind of sitting around while literally these guys are playing rock, paper, scissors. I don't get that. I don't understand that. And then Giant Monster just kind of shows up here and Andor gets away. It's all strange to me. It just feels weird. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but to me it just kind of feels weird. So then we head into episode 3, and this is where supposedly things are going to start coming to a head, right? So here we go. So the opening shot with the TIE fighter, by the way, in episode 3, beautiful shot, the lens flare in space and all that kind of stuff. And then we get more into the politics of just the day-to-day living on a planet with the Empire, Imperial occupation, like with the planet with Bix, where they're checking visas and things like that. It's scary. It is really. It is really, really, really scary. Back on the Mon Mothma storyline, she's kind of warning her daughter about the whole marriage situation, and daughter's like, nope, not gonna listen to you, Mom. You don't really seem like you have my best interests in mind. It's like, okay, she's gonna get married. Back to the Bizarro storyline with Daedra and Cyril. I don't know. Cyril's mom is so creepy, but it's just beyond creepy at this point. It's just weird and uncomfortable, and I don't know what's going on here. Perhaps intentionally, but again, I don't know. I literally wrote down a couple times in my notes what is going on when in reference to Cyril's mother, because it's just like Daedra puts her in her place, but I don't get the point of it, and I don't get the point of the wedding honestly either. Like I get there's sort of the juxtaposition of Mon Mothma celebrating and whatnot, and having the party vibes while everything is kind of crumbling around her. I get that, but I don't. Like to spend that much time on the wedding scene was also kind of interesting. But then we get into it's mostly on this planet, this farming planet with Bix now, and it gets really dark. I didn't really think Star Wars was going to go here because it's Star Wars, but and I'm not going to get too graphic with my descriptions here either, because it's very dark what happens to Bix, and it's very scary. It is very, very scary, but this is really the worst of the worst. This is the worst in humanity. This is the Empire showing its full terrifying, just awful side to it, and it is really scary what that Imperial officer tries to do to Bix, and I was horrified. So things get dark really in a hurry. The other guy, I forget his name, but he also dies in the chase out of the planet. And then Tay, kind of leaves as well. From the wedding, and presumably he's gonna die, although maybe not. We'll see about that. But yeah, I mean, we kind of end the episode here, and we end on a very bleak note. We end on a very somber note here, and it's just we'll just have to see what happens. But I don't know, guys. I mean, I don't know. It's weird because I felt very similarly the first time I saw Andor season 1, where I just wasn't overly impressed. I enjoyed my viewing experience generally, but I wasn't overly impressed. And I felt a very similar way with the opening of season 2. Now, I really liked a lot of stuff that was going on. Like I said, the politics of the rebellion, right? Luthen keeping an eye on everything, not knowing where Cassian is, the TIE Fighter opening sequence, the funds and Tay and Mon Mothma and all that. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed the stuff with Krennic about the Gormans, and I mean, not enjoyed that obviously, but enjoyed the storyline that was going on there of, okay, so they need to take out this energy source, and that's obviously going to play into the Death Star, and it's going to play into more things later on, and the politics of that. But a lot of the other weird stuff, Cyril and his mom and Dedra, and then the wedding stuff, the random rebels just kind of fighting on that forest planet there, just weird stuff going on, that it all kind of came together into this mini arc, and I just kind of sat there and I was like, it's just not clicking, it's just not coalescing. Maybe this series is just meant to do a rewatch for, because I don't know. Like, it just, I was expecting it to just really be like, bam, because especially with the opening sequence with the TIE Fighters, I was like, oh, this is totally, like, this is first time watching. I'm on board. I love it. And then it just kind of came crashing to a halt. So we'll see. We'll have to see. This is the first arc of 4. I didn't hate it at all. I loved a lot of things from it. I was a little frustrated that it didn't all come together in a way that I felt was satisfying, in my personal opinion. So those were my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2. Liked it. Didn't love it, I have to say, but very excited still to see where the show goes from here, because the first 3 episodes still had those flashes of absolute brilliance from Tony Gilroy that make Star Wars, again, not afraid to go dark, but also not afraid to really be Star Wars, right? To be that Star Wars that is living in the time of oppression during the Empire as well. So guys, let me know in the comments down below, did you like Andor Season 1, episodes 1 through 3, or did you not like them, or were you somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comments down below.